episodes coming one next Thursday and the Thursday after. This is a very important one, for me personally, because one, my mentor is on this call right now, and Aaron, and two, this is something that I really believe in. So Roger, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, so I appreciate that, Mike, and I'll just reiterate, thank you all to all of our panelists, and thank you to our attendees for joining us here with the Sports Biz Camps, Women in Sports panel discussion. This is episode 1. We'll be talking about the power of mentoring and networking, and we have a great panelist crew. But just do some housekeeping rules before we get going, just to minimize any feedback. If you're not answering or talking, we just ask everyone go on mute. We will have time for questions for the audience at the end. So audience, feel free to use the Q&A chat to ask questions. We'll make sure we get to them, and just take back and listen. So as we do that, let's jump right in, and I will ask Aaron to start, and please introduce yourself.
Awesome. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks again for the opportunity to be here. I am Erin Mitchell-Martin. I am the Director of Group Ticket Sales for the Washington Wizards. I'm originally from Philadelphia, go Eagles, and I did my high school and post-college years living in New Haven, Connecticut, so I do represent for Connecticut as well. I graduated from Hampton University with a degree in marketing. A little bit about what I do on a day-to-day basis. I love my job. I love working in sports, and I have the fortune of being able to coordinate group experiences for folks to come out to Wizards games. So I manage a staff of 6 reps that sell primarily group outings to corporate groups, youth sports groups, churches, schools, any group of friends, 10 or more that want to come out and experience a night at Capital One Arena for a Wizards basketball game. And the really fun part about it is we like to do event-based selling. So we're creative in that we try and host events that your typical sports fan may not necessarily think about coming to a Wizards game, but because of the event that we're putting on, they would want to join in on all the fun of the event. So have the ability to just be creative in some of the ideas and theme nights that we plan for Wizards games. When I graduated from college, I thought I would be working in like ad agency. Like I said, I have a degree in marketing, so sports was nowhere on my radar. Sales was nowhere on my radar. For me, it was marketing, agency, advertising, and then life happened, and here I am, a number of years later, still enjoying it.
Aaron, I can super relate. I was pre-med in college, so I thought I would be doing surgery, but now I'm working in sports. So no, that's awesome, and thank you for being a part of the panel. Sure. We're excited to hear what you have to bring and advice that you can share.
For sure.
How about you, Adrienne? Would you like to give an introduction?
Sure. And good morning, everyone. And thanks to Sports Biz Camps for allowing me the opportunity to come and chat with y'all today. I am Adrienne Bright. I am currently the Partnership Activation Manager at the San Francisco 49ers, new in this role, just joined last month. I'm originally from Flint, Michigan, and graduated from Central Michigan University with a degree in public relations and a minor in sport management. Diving a little bit more into my day-to-day at the 49ers. So I'm in the sales department at the 49ers. So if you've ever been at a venue or inside a stadium and see some partnership branding or signage in the stadium, that's part of my team to make sure that brands look good on game day and then also throughout the year outside of the season as well. When I graduated college, I envisioned myself as kind of the corporate businesswoman at a Fortune 500 company. And honestly, I do have some Disney experience, and I did a post-grad internship at Disney. So I kind of dabbled in that area a little bit, and I'm on the corporate side now at the 49ers and love what I do, enjoy what I do. Maybe the brand side is in my career journey down the road, but right now I'm where I need to be, and I'm loving it so far.
Adrienne, I don't know if we have enough time to get back or get into your Disney background, but I'm a big Disney guy, so we might have to save that for another episode. But also, Central Michigan, I'm an Ohio Bobcat guy. You guys just put a whooping on us last night.
You know about that action that
we might not, yeah. Have to save that talk for later. But thank you for taking the time and being on the panel. And now, last but not least, Alyssa, would you give a little introduction?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm Alyssa Mintz. I'm with Kroenke Sports and Entertainment. I'm our Partnership Insights Manager on our strategy team and sponsorships. So that was a mouthful, but we basically, Kroenke Sports has the Denver Nuggets, Colorado Avalanche, Colorado Mammoth, and Colorado Rapids. So we have a handful of sports teams in Denver that we work with. And then our ownership also has the LA Rams and Arsenal FC in London. So we span pretty global with our portfolio, but it makes it really fun and interesting. There's always something different every day. And so I'm originally from Rohnert Park, California, and just about an hour north of San Francisco in some county. And then I went to the University of Oregon in Eugene. So go Ducks always. But basketball starting Saturday, tune in. But I basically, in my role today on the strategy team, I wear a lot of different hats. I'm a little all over the place. So I do anything from drafting our contracts, where Mike and I have a lot in common there, or I will work and manage our CRM system, which is just a way to manage all of our customers and our relationships, the revenue, the inventory. I will set and look at our rates for how we sell things. And just to back up anybody isn't as familiar with corporate sponsorships, to kind of what Adrienne was saying, when you see a sign at a game, if you see a brand, on the court side, if you see a partner there, that's kind of what, and then we would then set a rate for what that's worth. And then I work with a lot of departments to kind of set different platforms and how we want to go about selling them. So for example, the Avalanche 25th anniversary is this season. So if we put a presenting partner on that, what does that mean? What do they get for it? And how much is that? So again, a little all over the place, but it's super fun and I love it. After college, I actually thought I would be in sponsorship. And so I kind of was lucky. I moved to Denver. I was like, I'm going to do it. And then here I am, but that's not as common. So it's not really normal. I think I just got really lucky with timing, but I did think I'd be more in an activating side of sponsorship. I thought I would be more so the person to get the creative for the court side. And that really is such a fun role. It just kind of evolved. I think I learned what data is, and I kind of followed that path after college. So here I am, but it's been great.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Melissa. And thank you too for being on. And you sounds like you have a ton of properties to handle. I'm glad I have people who work with me who take a lot of that from me. We usually Mike and I will give a quick introduction. Forgot to give that at the beginning. So just for the audience, my name is Roger Jones. I'm the Director of Corporate Partnerships at Georgetown. I'm not sure if you can see Jack the Bulldog right there, but I too work on behalf of Sports Biz Camps in the DC market, alongside my esteemed partner, Mike, and I'll let Mike give a quick introduction.
Yeah, I'll try and keep it very quick. Mike Ratzenberger. I am an attorney for Monumental Sports and Entertainment. So if you can see, I got the little Wizards thing going on right here. I've worked hand in hand with Aaron before, but again, I also, Roger and I help out in the DC market for Sports Biz Camps, trying to expand the whole messaging and nonprofit into this marketplace. So we're excited for everyone who can join, especially if you're from DC. If you're not, even better. So you maybe learn a little bit something about people from DC. So I think we'll just get it started, right? I have the first question, and it is for Aaron, okay? Other panelists, please feel free to jump in as well. But first one to Aaron. you know, a lot of the attendees here logging on are trying to understand how to get their start in sports, how to break in. What are some challenges for young women, especially when it relates to networking and seeking mentorship?
Yeah, so I think that traditionally everyone recognizes that sports is usually a male-dominated industry. So with that regard alone, that certainly could be intimidating for a young woman to go into, whether it's a new workplace or a networking event opportunity, and being one of few, if not only, women in that space. So just reminding yourselves, ladies, to be confident. And I know sometimes there's also the challenge of being overly assertive or overly confident has a negative connotation. But if you're your true authentic self and just bring that confidence along with you, I think that lends itself to just opening doors for opportunities to have conversations with people. Conversely with that, if you typically are kind of shy or quiet, you may then be overlooked. So finding that balance and remaining true to who you yourself are is going to be the key in helping with any type of networking. Another challenge I think that some young women may face is that this may be their first jobs out of college. And so you're stepping into your professional career for the first time in an industry that's male dominated, and say you are one of those quiet, shy types. That's just a recipe for reverting, if you will, and not really allowing yourself to be seen and be heard. And so again, I would just find a way to just balance being yourself. And you'll probably hear that as a theme from me. I am me all the time. I don't know how to not be authentically Erin Mitchell Martin. And, you know, some people love it. Some people don't care for it too tough, but it's who I've been, and it's gotten me to this level of success. So I'm okay with me. So that'll be a theme that you'll hear probably throughout today, at least coming from me, is just being authentic and being confident and knowing that you made a decision to work in this industry for a reason, and follow that and keep your goals in front of you and just pursue that no way. As far as seeking mentorship, I think the other thing too is you don't necessarily have to find someone who looks like you or does what you do. As a perfect example, Mike and I, we have a mentor-mentee relationship. Clearly, there's some blaring differences, you know, but just finding someone that you have a connection with. And obviously you're going to have to introduce yourself and get to know this person. And every person that you reach out to for networking opportunities is not going to be a good fit for what it is that you desire at that time. I think something that folks should also keep in mind is that a mentor or a networking relationship should be mutually beneficial. And so while I consider the mentor, I learn so much from my mentees regularly. And so making sure that the person that you're looking to engage with and network with is someone that doesn't have to be exactly like you, you know, doesn't have to be another Black woman, but somebody that you think you can be able to learn from and that you might be able to give some gems to as well.
That's fantastic, Erin. I really appreciate, you know, the insight there. For Adrienne and Alyssa, do you have anything to add to that?
I think Erin, you know, nailed it. And just to build off of what she said, I think it starts with confidence. Know that you deserve to be in the same room as those male counterparts. And, you know, you've worked to get in that position that you're in, or that you're working towards. So yes, you know, there is, you know, it's nice to have some sense of humbleness, but also don't be afraid to brag. I think, you know, we've been taught to kind of brush some things under the rug and not boast about ourselves, but no, you've worked hard to be where you are, and brag about that project or, you know, whatever you've accomplished. You know, have confidence in your skill set and what's brought you to that table.
Completely agree. And if you show that you're worthy of being in that room, then you earn the respect of everyone around you. If you don't get the respect of anyone around you for being yourself, then maybe you're not in the right place, because every place that you should be confident in, like in order to grow and develop as a person and professionally, you should definitely have the respect of everyone in the room. And you can do that with confidence and just being yourself, just like Erin and Adrienne were saying.
Alyssa, I love that, because it really, it's like sometimes it's not you, right? You know, sometimes it's your environment. And I completely agree. You know, I think authenticity, regardless of anything, like just be who you are, right? And really, you know, we always look at seeking or breaking into is like, oh, I need to find where I'm going to fit in, but find the right fit for you, right? So that was great. And Adrian, Adrienne, uh, Adrienne, I would like to pose this next question to you, and then obviously have our other panelists come in. With there is challenges. Aaron touched on it. You know, this is a male-driven industry, and let's be honest, it's really older white males. A lot of the audience and the people that are going to see this are young, high school, college females. So it's already challenging. But now we're in a pandemic, right? And it's harder to really get in front of people and network. What are some innovative ways or tips from the networking standpoint can you provide for our audience, especially our young female audience?
Sure. I think on the first piece of the question, the first statement that you made, I think youth is always on your side, and being a Black female is desired right now. I don't want to use the word trending, but you know, a lot of people are looking to diversify their talent. And being a female and being a woman, you already kind of check those boxes, on top of the skill set that you're going to bring to the table already. So know that, you know, there are some advantages already. Don't think of that as a disadvantage. Own that, walk into the room proudly, and know that you are desired. I think during the pandemic and right now, there's a wealth of resources out there, and a lot of it is at a free or reduced cost in the form of virtual chats like this, or webinars, virtual career sessions. And I'm finding that a lot of people are willing to lend their time right now because they have, yes, we're still working, but we're not commuting, we're not traveling for business. So I'm finding, you know, from a networking standpoint and from chatting with my mentors and mentees, that people are willing to lend their time, especially right now, because they have more time on their hands. So I think first, definitely take advantage of those virtual resources that are out there, whether that's through LinkedIn. Every other time I'm scrolling, I'm seeing an infographic or an invite for some sort of webinar or free conversation, free chat. I think narrow in on what you're seeking. If that's a specific company, if that's, you know, a specific skill set, social media, graphic design, tailor those, you know, sessions that you're seeking to your interests and what you're looking for. So that way you can follow up with that panelist or that guest speaker, and be intentional about your follow-up. I also think now is a great time to work on branding yourself and making yourself marketable for when jobs start hiring again, or when you are in a position to seek a job. You know, you may find yourself with more time on your hands as well, and that's time to work on your resume. Reach out to a network for resume review and resume critiques. Find new digital ways to brand yourself. I've seen TikTok resumes, digital resumes. Like, now is a time for research and discovery, to figure out how you can make yourself stand out. So to sum that up, there's a wealth of resources out there. I think it's knowing yourself, knowing what you want, what your vision is for yourself, and then tapping into those resources.
I definitely agree with that, especially from the virtual webinar opportunities. I know that, you know, if we were not in the middle of a global pandemic, I would not have the time to attend a number of the events that I've been able to just log on to from home now. So, you know, it's one of the downsides, obviously, of pandemic is it itself, but it has afforded us that opportunity, to Adrienne's point, have more time to do things and involve ourselves in things from a virtual space, which it was all new a few months ago. We're kind of now getting used to the idea of being on a screen. But I think that certainly is a point that I too have taken advantage of as well, and still continuing to just network and hear from other folks in the industry as well.
also recommend, since everybody's so open, and I'm totally with you both on that, I think it would be great. It's an interesting way to network too, is when you talk to somebody and you have their time, like being prepared, and then also at the end of it, maybe asking for one or two more people that they can connect you to. So that way you're getting a warm introduction and you're kind of making it an authentic connection, and kind of just moving your way through industry, whether that's within the same type of department, whether it's sponsorship or whether it's tips or whether it's marketing and digital. I think you can kind of weave your way through different teams and agencies and brands and get a feel for what's out there. And everybody right now is just so open to that. And I think, we were all in the position of needing a job at one point. We were all in the position of needing to network, and we still network to this day. So just always maybe asking for like one or two more people that they can introduce you to after could be a good way to broaden your horizon there.
That's fantastic. And actually a quick follow-up for everyone as well. You mentioned that, with this pandemic that you have some extra time, when you were in college, you did too. So I know a lot of the attendees here are college students. How would you go about searching for some of these type of events, some of these networking events? What are some things they should be looking out for? I remember when I was trying to break in, if it had the word sports and law in it, I was going to go, but not all of them were great. So, how do you kind of divvy up your time, because time is valuable, and, how do you actually get in front of the people that you need to get in front of?
I think starting with, for college students, starting with your sport management programs or any resources that you may have within your school network is a good start, or leaning on your professors or any extracurricular clubs that you may be a part of related to sports, seeing if they're putting on any virtual career fairs or if your professors can point you in the right direction. I mentioned LinkedIn earlier. LinkedIn is a powerful tool. There's usually hashtags associated with a lot of these events, sports biz, sports industry, following those hashtags, or just continuing to follow companies, brands, agencies that you're interested in. And a lot of times they're putting out information for webinars or virtual events that are going on.
And for those of us that were like myself and didn't really know when I was in college that sports was the direction I was going to go, I would certainly follow that advice that was given, and kind of think outside of that box. A marketing degree can take you many places. So think outside of that box as to what it is that you could potentially want to do. I've always had an interest in sports, was never an athlete, but that's another reason why I think I enjoy what I do so much, because I genuinely have an interest in the product that I sell, that my reps sell. So making sure that you're looking outside of just what you're like, don't have tunnel vision basically, and looking outside of what it is that you're currently studying and pursuing.
Yeah, just finding the interests that are most interesting to you in your studies or watching a game. I think an internal, even your athletic department at your college, there's a lot of great resources there. And there's even students that work in the athletic department. Talk with them. You can talk with, there's, so many resources there, and they can help point you in the right direction. And I think, even just looking at Sports Business Journal or Front Office Sports, which I don't think has a paywall right now. So, Front Office Sports would be a great resource. There's so many different types of sports websites where they will also promote different webinars, and just being open to kind of, once you narrow down your interests, maybe kind of looking for those hashtags, like as we're saying, and just kind of searching there. I also remember specifically in college, I think I just went down a Twitter rabbit hole looking for anything sports related. And then that's how I started following the type of accounts I wanted to follow. But I had no idea, I didn't know I wanted to work in sports until later in college. And so the rabbit hole pointed me in the right direction eventually.
Alyssa, I think you speak for all of us. I think we've all been down that rabbit hole before. But you all are right. I just remember in college, and I guess one thing that, Adrienne, you brought this up with networking, students, when you, and Alyssa, you pointed to this too, but your colleagues, your other classmates who are doing these internships, that's networking too. As you guys build relationship and things, I look across now and see a bunch of classmates who I was in school with and the positions that they're in, right? And we're staying in touch, and you just never know which road or which relationship can help lead you to where you want to be. And Aaron, I think you made a great point of, while you're young and while you do have time, broaden your horizons, right? Try something, and if you don't like it, then guess what? You don't like it. So, no, great points, and I think we that's really good for all the audience. So, Alyssa. Oh wait, Mike, this is your question. I was going to steal it. I was going to steal it.
You're trying to steal my thunder, man. Before I get to this one, Alyssa, I just want to pause for a second to let all the attendees know that if you have any questions, please go ahead and send it into the Zoom webinar chat. We're going to be doing a question and answer, so please feel free. There are absolutely 0 dumb questions because I've already asked all the dumb questions, so we're good. So please feel free to ask our panelists whatever, and we'll try and get through as many as we can. So now, Alyssa, I'm going to put on my therapist hat for this one, and we're going to go back in time. All right. Think about yourself in college, think about yourself in high school, think about yourself growing up. What advice would you give yourself then that you've figured out now? And then this is going to be opened up to everybody else.
Yeah, it's a great question. I actually was thinking about it the past couple days. Also, in regards to stupid questions, just so everyone feels better, I recently just questioned what the initial CP meant in an email with the MBA, and that's corporate partnerships. I've worked here for almost 4 years, so that's a stupid question. So don't worry, it happens. But anyway, and it's very well aware when that happened. To answer your question, I think that if I were to kind of go back in time, I would just tell myself, well, first of all, I was I'm still a type A person. I was always very driven and involved and, had my hand in everything, which was great because it made me realize what I was interested in, not interested in. I think that if I were to go back, I would just really tell myself to kind of network earlier on and kind of explore more than what I thought I was even going to be interested in. I know that sounds weird, but to even have talked to anybody in the law industry when I was younger, or if I were to talk with more people from different types of teams or different types of departments. I mean, digital wasn't really a thing. I don't really think back then, but which is kind of crazy to think about. But to even know that the MySpace days would turn into so much more than what they were, and to understand what that meant and how that works in every business. I also think I probably would. I mean, again, I didn't discover sports till later in college, but discovered working in sports. I knew what sports were, but I think I would probably just kind of tell myself to put myself out there way more and to just try to be in open to all of the different types of paths that I could take. I think once I discovered working in sports, I feel like my tunnel vision kind of closed in. And so, now I realize that there's so many skill sets to know. I think, if I wish I spent a little bit more time on computer science to understand all of that and just to understand the way that the world was going. And also just to understand that, again, my tunnel vision, I was like, I'm going to work for a team. I think just to understand the different levels of the entire sports industry or any industry, right? There's always going to be a vertical where it's going to be like brand or agency and kind of what those different jobs were. So I kind of wish I attended more things like this, but I don't really think this was a thing back there. So I think everybody that's on this right now has such an advantage in starting now. I think it's so important to put yourself out there. So I don't know if that was a clear answer, but.
I mean, I think that's the fantastic advice you're going to tell yourself. Aaron and Adrienne, same question to you. You're staring at yourself when you were younger. What are you going to tell yourself?
It's going to be all right. You don't have to have all of the answers today. I started my career in sports late, if you will. I was a late bloomer. And so just trying to figure out and the path that it took for me to land here. was stressful, to say the least. And so I would just tell my younger self, it's going to be okay. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I think if I could tell my younger self anything, it'd be don't be afraid to make some noise. I think I suffered from what I call like internship syndrome for a while, even in my full-time jobs, where I feel like yes, I have a manager, I have a supervisor, and I just have to kind of do what's being asked of me and like don't really go against the grain. And I think, yes, you're young and you're an intern, you still have a lot to learn, but you're digitally savvy, you're social media savvy, you have all these skill sets, and growing up in a world of technology that sometimes your supervisors or superiors don't really have. And so don't be afraid to kind of like push the envelope a little bit, or, ask for more work and put your own spin on it. I think that just don't be timid. You are bringing a wealth of resources and knowledge and fresh knowledge, being out of college or, in the thick of everything. So, know that there's ownership and power in what you're bringing to the table, even at an early stage.
That's wonderful. I started thinking about what I tell myself. And I think the first thing is buy stock in Amazon. And then Adrienne, to your point, it's you're already in college. You're balancing so much right now. You're balancing homework. You're balancing your friends. You're balancing probably most of them work. At least I did. Take those skills into that internship, into that job, and your organization. Don't forget about that and balance that work. As a person entering into the industry, show people how much you can do right away, and don't shy away from that just because someone says, oh, well, you're still green or you're still new. So no, take that head on. So that great advice. And I wanted to follow up with a question for anyone and everyone, even Mike, if you want to jump in. So what are some obstacles though that you guys face? And Aaron, I know you alluded to, a little bit in your journey, but what are some obstacles that you face personally and professionally? And then sort of just give the advice of how you got through, right?
Yeah, so, like I mentioned, I graduated with a degree in marketing. I started my first chapter of my professional career was in educational marketing. I was doing sales there, had a lot of success, thought I was living a dream, making what I thought was a lot of money. There's no need to go to grad school. Like, this is it. And then I just got to the point where I was bored out of my mind in that job. And so that meant I wasn't being fulfilled, right? And I knew at that point, somewhere within those 7 years, probably closer to like year 6 of that job, the light bulb kind of went off. And I'm like, sports, I need to work in sports. It's not even a want anymore. It's a need so that I would be fulfilled. And okay, I've had success in sales, so let's start a career in sales in sports. And so that was the one challenge, is just starting in the industry. I was, many years out of college. I was a lot older than my peers and my colleagues when I first started working for the Washington Mystics. And so just that adjustment in and of itself, right? And then the other challenge was, my first job after I graduated from college, I went back to Connecticut. I knew that if I wanted to work in sports, there was nothing happening in New Haven, Connecticut, sports related for me. So I needed to move. I needed to get out of that area. Where do I go? I decided to go to Atlanta, where all sports properties are represented down there. And as life would have it, no opportunities were presented to me there. But that was the space where I really started just networking a whole lot and finding different organizations, sports related, to be involved in, even though I was not active working in sports at that time. So then I had to relocate again, and that's when the move to DC occurred. So those were a couple of obstacles. Then you move to a new city where I knew some people, had some acquaintances. So just adjusting to living in a new city without the support of family and close friends, working for an organization, which was great, but where I was considered one of the old ladies on the staff, and then being an African-American woman. And so while Adrienne alluded to the point that right now, today, companies are looking to diversify, at that point, it was kind of a challenge for me to have to overcome being in this industry as an older, at the all things considered, Black woman working for a sports team. So thankfully, Monumental Sports has done me right. I worked for the Mystics before. We had like a very close-knit type family style relationship and organization there. And then being able to just flourish and grow and stay within the organization has been amazing for me. So there were definitely some obstacles that I had to overcome.
Go ahead, Adrienne.
We both went off mute at the same time. I think just post-grad, just that unknown feeling that maybe some of you may be experiencing right now on this call. I mentioned earlier, I did a post-grad internship at Disney, and a lot of that was because it was comfortable. I was part of the Disney College internship program during undergrad, and I was familiar with it. I wasn't really ready to start the real world yet. So I'm like, I'll do this, live at Disney, just kind of hang out where it's familiar. But then during what was meant to be a year-long internship, Disney was on a hiring freeze. And so while my expectation was, yeah, I'll get hired, after I wrap up my internship, that quickly didn't become my reality. So about 6 or 7 months in, I had to figure out what my game plan was going to be. And I had already completed, I think that was my 6th internship altogether throughout college. So I'm like, okay, I got to get off this internship train. I got to put my big girl pants on and eventually start my life. And so for me, it was just kind of having somewhat of a vision for myself. I mentioned wanting to be on the brand side. And so I started actually researching agencies, knowing agencies work with brands. I had agency internship experience. How could I translate the experience through my internships into this path that would kind of eventually get me to the brand side? Obviously, I'm on the team side right now and I love it. So my trajectory didn't plan out as I planned, and that's just life. But at that time, for me, it fit into my big picture strategy and it made sense for me. So my first full-time job after Disney, I worked at a marketing agency doing events for GM. I relocated, moved to Dallas. But like I said, it was all part of kind of that longer term vision for me. And at that time, I really had to evaluate, okay, what are my skill sets? What am I doing now? What do I really like? How can I transform this into where I want to be? So at some point, you're going to have to think about that. It's scary. The unknown is scary. But it's also exciting. And don't forget about that part. The nerves, making yourself uncomfortable will allow for growth, and just make sure that you understand that. But that was at that time a personal obstacle that I was facing.
So I think for me, it was work-life balance and burnout. Also moving to a new place. So I think that it's so easy in these jobs in the sports industry just to make it your life. And I feel like European people make fun of us in the US because we live to work and they work to live. And so I think that I had hand motions, I don't know if they showed, but I think that it's important to really take a step back. And I think what I got really caught up in, even when I was working in the athletic department of college, and then when I came out to Denver here, it was very much like, I need to prove myself. I need to volunteer to say it. I became a yes person. I was saying yes to working every game. I was saying yes to working all of the community events and everything. And I think that when you're moving to a new place, or even if you're pretty comfortable where you're at, just remembering that, are you gonna remember that exact moment or that event, 10 years, 15 years down the line? And should that be your priority at the time? And, for me, it was, because I really wanted to advance my career. And I was fortunate to do so, improve myself. But I think that it's important to also remember, make time to meet new people in your new city, make time for your friends and for those moments. I missed some senior year things in college because I was working all of the games and it was so much fun. But at the same time, I never got to tailgate. So I kind of missed out on that experience. Or, even today in Denver, it's like I was so fortunate that I became friends, like very close friends with everybody I work with, and we all love each other and we hang out 24/7. But like, sometimes you need that buffer of like, you don't really want to talk about work all the time. It's, for even for your mental health, just to talk with somebody who has no idea what you do. I actually, I've made friends here that aren't interested in sports at all. And quite frankly, that's been really fun because they don't care what I do. And so that makes it more interesting to, it reminds you to kind of remember who you are without sports and without your job in general, even if you don't pursue sports. And I just think that you want to be careful. You don't want to get burnt out and hate what you do, when you should always remember why you fell in love with it in the first place. So just taking that time for yourself and take care of yourself, and don't burn out.
Thank you. I think this is probably, one of the most important questions, because to pull the attendees behind the curtain, life is tough, life sucks, and you get thrown things that you don't think are, you're ever going to see, especially in college. So, to kind of piggyback off of what everyone was saying, and I'm opening this up again to the entire group, when a young woman is first establishing herself in a career and looking to build a mentor-mentee relationship, how important is it for her to seek a wide variety of mentors, male, female, in the industry, without the industry, how to go about doing it? What are some of the challenges that are very unique to women in the mentor-mentee relationship that, other people won't see? And then how do you kind of go about building those relationships?
I think Erin did touch on this earlier, where she mentioned, I think, your guys' relationship, Erin and Mike, and how you guys are different. I think that it is important to have, diversity in not only just aesthetics, what you look like, but also diversity in background and diversity in thought and experience. I think for those in the audience, you are still kind of trying to figure out probably what you're trying to do, or, looking for different avenues within the sports industry. So I don't think that you need to kind of, hone in on one specific skill set, or someone that, seeking a mentorship solely because of what someone looks like. Yes, there are attributes that, you may be able to relate a little bit more to, but what if you guys just don't have that connection, or the relationship doesn't work out? I think there's this automatic assumption because, there's another Black female sitting across the table that we're going to connect. And that's not always the case. I definitely have mentors that are drastically different and don't look like me. So I think that it's important when you're going into a mentor-mentee relationship or seeking that type of relationship that you do keep an open mind and know that, just like interviews and applying for jobs, like mentorship relationships don't always work out. It's a two-way street, and you may come to realize that, due to time or due to interest or just not fostering that connection, that maybe it just doesn't work out. So I think it's important to have that open mind and understand that not every person you come in contact with or think that is cool and, oh, I'm going to make sure this person is my mentor, that may not be the case. Obviously go into it wanting to make the best relationship out of it, but know that maybe that won't happen, and that's okay.
And kind of off of that, when I was starting out fresh out of college, even before I went to law school, I thought I knew what, networking and making a mentorship entailed, but it was really just, 15 minutes talking to someone who's way older than me and then like never talking to them again because I was freaked out. Whereas now that I'm older, Erin can attest, we're friends. So like I'm in her office all the time, whether we're talking about power or basketball or anything. Like you make the actual friend connection, but you also have that added bonus of being colleagues or having the job that you want to do. So I don't know, there's some experiences that you three had where, maybe one way that you would have changed how you networked and found your mentor, or something of the best practices that you found.
So I don't necessarily say that I have a mentor. I've been fortunate that I've been surrounded in both of my career paths here with women that I look up to. And so in my first job, the ladies that managed me, or just the ladies that, sat in the cubicles near me, listening and learning from them and what their sales style was and how they, operated just in the office in the professional setting, because that was my first job out of college. Those are women that I looked up to, and I tried to tailor what became my kind of sales style to what I learned from them. So I picked up pieces from them. Now at Monumental Sports, I have a group of women that are my accountability partners. They're the people, they're my sounding boards, they're my cheerleaders. They're the women that I can go to when I'm having a bad day, or if I need to be put in place, like, no, Erin, you were wrong for that. Like, this is, you should apologize, or whatever the case may be. They will correct me when need be. And I do the same with them. So I've been fortunate that I've had these women in my life, and it's ironic that it's mostly been women that I've been able to look up to in these spaces, but that's just what the reality is, that have just helped to foster my confidence, foster the relationship skills that I have, and help make me just a better professional. As well as personally, I know I can go to these folks as well if I'm having some issues or concerns or things going on personally, that I feel confident in their guidance from that perspective as well. As far as the mentee mentor relationship, again, I said it before, you definitely learn from your mentees. Mike and I, we have conversations all the time, and whether it's cracking a joke or just one little sentence that he'll say that will just give me a new perspective as to life. Seriously. Adrienne, again, she mentioned it before. I'm obviously, an older generation, if you will. So I'm still able and willing to learn from recent college graduates. I'm still able and willing to learn about the digital space, because that's not something that, was around when I was in college. There was no Facebook, there was no Twitter. So being able to take pieces and learn, and being open as a mentor to learn from your mentee is what really makes, I think, the relationship most beneficial and fruitful.
Erin, real quick, that's a great segue. We had a question from the audience about that topic, and they wanted to know, as students, what advice can you give some advice to help them identify what they can bring to the table? I know you just mentioned, what Mike, brings. He can make you laugh, and two, he helps you, grow on learning new things and the things that are coming up in the industry, like digital and things like that. But as students, what should they identify in themselves and their skills that they can bring to that mentor relationship? And then Alyssa, Adrienne, feel free to chime in as well.
And I'll be brief here because I feel like I've been talking a lot, but I think it is that not having that tunnel vision. And again, knowing that you can meet someone that, for me, is working in ticket sales, and you may have an interest in working in marketing, but the marketing and ticket sales departments will work closely together. So knowing, the things that you're learning in whatever the field is that you're focused on right now, how can that transition and translate into a conversation that you can bring to someone that could eventually be a mentor?
Absolutely.
I would also add, I completely agree with that. And I think that, I remember being a student kind of being like, well, why would they want to talk with me? Or, as a mentee, it's kind of like, well, what do they get out of it? And just note, first of all, they're not really looking necessarily to get anything out of it. They're there to help you. But I do think that you have an advantage of kind of being so green and kind of realizing that you can ask and take that opportunity to ask as many questions as you want. And I think something I've learned, like coming in to newer roles, is just kind of figuring out what are things that you can fix and what are things you can make more efficient. That's kind of been my thing, is how can you always make a process or a platform or anything just more efficient? And I think using that mentor relationship and being surrounded by so many intelligent people, like just kind of taking advantage of that and soaking it in, just become a sponge and learn. And I think that's kind of a great role for a mentee, and that's kind of what they bring to the table, is that fresh green perspective. And maybe a mentor has been staring at something, the same thing, for hours or days or weeks or years, and a mentee may come in and be like, well, why don't you do it this way? And maybe they'll tell you why you're right or wrong, but at least that's something that you can contribute and kind of just bring that new different perspective.
That's fantastic. And actually, we're getting some really great questions here. So I'm just going to start firing some of these off. From Diana. Thank you, Diana. When entering a new position in sports, what advice can you give on establishing respect with your peers, building the confidence, which I think Aaron touched on a little bit, and ensuring that your voice is heard?
I think it's, knowing that you have a seat at the table. If you've gotten that job, if you've, secured that position, now is not the time to be meek or to be shy. And candidly, this was in one of my feedback or coaching sessions with one of my former supervisors at my previous job. One of the pieces of feedback that he gave me is to, you have all of these great ideas, you're strategic. I want you to be more vocal on our client calls. And I think that goes back to that confidence, thing we talked about at the top of the call. So I think you're here. So your ideas are valid. They're important. Your idea may not always turn into that next big project, but you have a voice. So speak up in the meetings, speak up on those calls, ask the questions, and know that, you're there for a reason and your voice should be heard.
I would add to that, I completely agree. It's like, if you are there, you're there for a reason. You deserve to be there. You've proven yourself to get that far. I think something that I kind of battled with too was my age when I first started, and kind of coming in, I started when I was 22. And so just being in that room, I felt like, oh, no one will listen to me. And I think that for kind of starting that role, I think that it's important to kind of know that you bring that perspective and to not be intimidated, and you can only learn and grow from there. And I think that, like Adrienne touched on that really early in the call, is you have youth on your side if you're just coming into a role like that out of college, or an internship, or if you're in high school and you're looking, like, I think you have that advantage of just being the person in the room that can learn and just be confident, because Mike even said that there's no stupid questions, and if you're questioning things, like, it's okay to ask. And I think if you can just be confident in your interpretation of something, then that's a really great way to gain respect. And you will probably lead to, I was able to kind of fix our entire CRM and rate card system at 22, and I did not know what I was doing. That was probably a fluke success, and I was and it just kind of worked out. It ended up being successful, but that was something that, like, I just kind of shot my shot at, and it worked, and I got feedback and grew from it. So
don't be humble. I was gonna say, don't be humble, Alyssa. Take the credit.
And this is actually a good segue. And Alyssa, I'm gonna pose this one to you, as you spoke about, starting off at 22. Do you have any advice as far as reaching out to someone at a company that you've applied to? I know, especially for me too, and for our anonymous question, we apply places and we just never hear back. What's the strategy of reaching out to? Do you reach out to the hiring manager? Do you just find somebody that you're connected to? Kind of how do you go about that after you've sent an application in?
Yeah, and first of all, I just want to acknowledge, like, I totally agree. That's super discouraging when you don't hear back from a company, and shame on that company for not getting back to you, because I think that that's, whether it's feedback or just even the flat rejection, like, just to hear back would be a wonderful kind of closing to a story. But as we know, that's not necessarily the reality. So I know it's discouraging, but I think just being consistent of, even if it's not the hiring manager, just talking to someone at the company to get a feel for, what is the company like? Why are they the type of company that doesn't respond to an application? And just understanding maybe that there's more in the background that you don't understand, or maybe that's your in is. So, reaching out to anybody that works for that type of company can help point in the right direction of maybe how that company operates, and could provide insight or an introduction to somebody in the department that you're looking for. And I even think sometimes reaching out to a different type of company that's similar, and I'll just use an agency as an example. If you're reaching out to agencies where you're not getting a response from one, but maybe you go talk to someone else in that role at a different agency to learn more about it. I think that once you start establishing those connections, or just learning about how a business runs and how those roles work together, then I think that that's kind of all you can do, and just kind of keep trying, like do not give up. I think Aaron touched on the very beginning, like it will be okay. So like don't stress too much. Like I know it's super discouraging, especially in today's climate, but I think just, keep going and keep trying to use every outlet you can. And I think people will respect you for doing that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I know it can be discouraging, but the right opportunity will present itself and everything happens for a reason. So I wanted to save this last question because I think it's a fantastic question for the end. And I know we got 5 minutes left, so I'm going to pose this to everybody. Thank you, Kenya Jones, for this question. How do you feel you can make an impact on / encourage young girls and young women aspiring to follow in your footsteps? What do you think we can do to empower the next generation?
I think that I try and make myself available and accessible to younger women or people looking to learn more about what I do, or the sports industry. I think there is power in networking when done right, and in mentorship. And I truly credit my career path and where I am today to a lot of career guidance that I've received from mentors and people that have helped me along the way. So for me, knowing that that's been successful for me, I want to make sure that I'm doing that for others that are coming up behind me as well. So for me, it's trying to make myself as available as I can and making sure that I'm doing and having intentional conversations and fostering intentional mentorship relationships.
I completely agree. It's the pay it forward, right? So someone looked out for each of us, and it's the right thing to do to pay it forward to the generation of young women coming up behind us. And whether that's, a young woman that you may encounter at a church, if you go to church, or colleagues in the office, interns that you have worked with, anyone that reaches out to me through LinkedIn. I do try as well to be very intentional in responding and making sure that our conversations are not just fluff, but let's really talk about, nitty gritty, real deal talk. This is, again, Aaron is going to keep it 100 authentic all the time.
I think, first of all, these types of the sports biz camps, that entire program, I mean, I feel like I didn't know that existed when I was younger. If it did, I had no idea. Or, there's teamwork online, those types of events. I think just being a young woman, just like making yourself aware of the resources that you can look to and follow and keep up with. And just when you reach out, I totally agree, pay it forward. I mean, we all were looking for a job and a mentor at one point, and even if you don't know what you want, I remember somebody once called me and said, I think I just want to work in sports. And I was like, well, what does that mean to you? And I think the first question is why? Like, find your why if you're passionate, interested in sports. And then once you figure out the why, figure out, what specific areas are you interested in. And if you don't know what that is, you don't know what opportunities exist, that's where you can start to network and even just ask who you're, pick somebody random, no matter what department or company they're with, and say, I think I'm interested in marketing. What kind of jobs can I do with that? And what could that ever turn into? And then somebody with more experience can help point you in probably 100 different directions. And that's the starting place. That's the first place you can start in. So I think just kind of know your why and kind of go from there. Just be open-minded.
Yeah, no, I think that's everything that you guys said was great. And one thing I'd add is, the people above you and your superiors aren't the only ones paying attention, right? Continue to just pave your path, put the work in, right? People are going to notice. And in closing, I just want to thank, on behalf of Mike, myself, and Sports Biz Camps and our audience, I want to thank our panelists. I mean, you guys the nuggets that you guys delivered was amazing. I know I'm taking some information back. Mike, but I appreciate it. And it was an honor to be on and listen to all the advice that you three provided. So I want to
I echo everything Roger said. I think this is probably the biggest honor I've ever had that I got to speak with you three. And also thank you so much for all the attendees. If you really want to see if they put their money where their mouth is, you should find all three of them on LinkedIn and reach out to them. And if you wanted to ask a question that you felt a little too shy about, ask them and see if they were telling the truth. That's how you can make sure that they were good people. But again, thank you so much for the three. It was a wonderful conversation. I know we hit exactly the hour mark, so that's perfect. So Roger, you want to close us out?
Yeah, absolutely. So Mike, I think you really did. If there's anything real quick, one word, last advice that the panelists want to give you the floor, and then we'll close out.
Intentional, if we're sticking to one word.
Authentic.
Aaron took mine. I was like spot thinking. Sorry. Passion.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you again, panelists. We appreciate it. Audience, thank you for showing up. That's half the battle. Thank you for sticking with us for the whole hour, even though we went over just 1 minute. And thank you, Sports Biz Camps, for putting this on. Next episode will be next week. So hopefully we have everyone attend again. So thank you, panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.